It's Dan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Congratulations, Bengal fans out there. There's the Tampa Bay Bengal fans. Go Bucks. Come on over. Come on over. Oh, we got our fans out here. This is the reason why.
Who Dey?
You guys win today. Tell everybody why you come out to Duckies. Get into that mic there.
Born and raised in Cincinnati.
Okay.
Just moved to Tampa a little over a year ago.
Okay.
Started coming down here last year when we still sucked. Now we're finally putting it together.
Believe in Joe.
Go Joe.
All right, so go Joe. You're live here on NSPN. Of course, I Love St. Pete.
Yep.
Right there, big time win over the Pittsburgh Steelers today. You feel confident in Joe Burrow going forward?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
As long as we keep running the football like we did today.
Okay.
That's the main thing. It always starts with the run game, and after that, if you can do the play action pass. You gotta can't be one-sided. You can't just air it out and expect Joe to be the hero.
Exactly.
You got to be able to run the football and go from there.
You guys
just
have been
with Leonard Fournette with the Bucks.
Right.
You got to be able to. You got to have the ground game going.
I heard some of you people you were with. They're Tampa Bay fans, so you guys all see Tampa Bay, Cincinnati.
Sam Weiss came from Cincinnati to Tampa.
Correct.
That's when Tampa became my second favorite team.
Okay.
Now I moved here. I live here. Of course, I rooted for the Bucks last year and this year and ever since.
All right.
Sam Weiss became the head coach.
All right. Well, good stuff, man. Congratulations. Definitely. We'll be out here next Sunday. We'll live on NSPN.
Bucks and Bengals in the Super Bowl.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That would be the ultimate dream.
All right, my friend. We will see you later. Go like and follow NSPN on Facebook. And I Love St. Pete, okay? Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on here. Live Who Dey right there. Always open. Gotta love it here. Live at Ducky Sports Lounge.
Folks.
It is.
It ain't got to be all about Bucks. It could be anything.
1719 West Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's been a long time, hasn't it? I know I haven't forgotten how to do this. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. How do we start off this show on this Happy Hump Day Wednesday night edition? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have ABC Action News' Mr. Denis Phillips, meteorologist. And on this show, sports broadcaster. We'll also have our professional handicapper, Mr. Harry the Greek of 1252 Chicago Sports at 9 o'clock, coming in here in the next couple minutes. At 9:30, we will have the Shooter and Stache of We the Thunder podcast, talking about your Tampa Bay Lightning. Maybe some Rays talk, maybe some Bucks talk, and of course, show that new video, Thanksgiving in Tampa Bay. Always love to show those guys off, Shooter and Stache. At 9:30, at 10 o'clock, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, It's Sports Mag. And at 10:30, we will go into enemy territory with Jason Rubin of Night Sports Productions, talking about the Bucks' next opponent. the Buffalo Bills. So, Bucs fans, what do you think about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 9-3? Pretty decisive win. Very tough to say anything against it. 30-17 over the Atlanta Falcons. Tom Brady just continues to go along. Now the front runner for MVP. Who told you that at the beginning of the year? Just saying, trying not to pat myself on the back. Although it has been a while, I'll explain my absence. Had a little health trouble. Had to go actually into the hospital. Chest pains on the left side, pleurisy of the lungs. That's what happens when you burn it at both ends 7 days a week. But you know what? It's all worth it because we get a chance to do this show here live on NSPN. And of course, I love St. Pete. And to get a chance to paint my Mustang, that 96 Mustang GT. So it all worked out. My health is just fine. I'm ready to talk with you, Bucs fans. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to the webheads here. Brian Shin says, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Tampa makes it.
I got to do it here. And I tell you what, let's go out to our first guest here who will be joined by Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. And let's go ahead and get his walk-up music on. Here we go. My professional handicapper extraordinaire, throw me off there with that music. My bad. I've got my music on. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. It's been a long time, my friend. And of course, we start off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being 9-3. To me, pretty good win versus the Atlanta Falcons. Welcome to the Sports Web.
What's happening, my brother? How's everything going tonight?
Everything is really good. Like I was explaining to the webheads and the fans out there, little health difficulty, had to take some time off, but I am raring to go. And let's start it out with Tom Brady. I mean, here's a guy, 44 years old, still getting it done at a high level, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And on the day last Sunday versus the Falcons, 38 for 51, 368, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He is completely unbelievable.
He's averaging 3 touchdowns a game. He's 44 years old. I mean, I don't know what else you could possibly ask for in an MVP-style quarterback. Does he win it? Probably not. I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't win it last year.
Yeah, I don't know why he won it. I didn't win it. Winning a Super Bowl and a new offense, 40 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get this guy on here. Let's get his intro on. Here we go.
Hey.
Yep, that's right. That's a tornado siren. Let's go out to Mr. Phillips of ABC Action News. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. And I started off with Tom Brady. At this point, from betting perspective or betting purposes, Brady is the #1 favorite to win the MVP. Is that how you see it, Denis? Welcome to the evolution.
Hey, I don't know, man. That's beyond my pay grade to figure out who's going to win MVP. I will tell you, though, I do want to tell you a story. By the way, hey, Harry. So I'm outside last week. I don't know what I was doing. Some guy walks up to me. I was at my house. Actually, it was my house. I was doing we do a hot chocolate fundraiser for Children's Miracle Network. Mm-hmm. And when people walk up to me, it's almost always, hey, I follow you on Facebook, or hey, I watch you on TV. He came up to me and said, hey, I watch you on Peter's sports show on Wednesday nights. So there you go. There's at least one person out there that's watching and said that they love the show.
Hey
So
guys,
there you
look,
go.
I even have a Sports Web candle. Ready?
Oh, well, look
Look
at
at
that.
that. Isn't that cool, man?
Big
The
time.
Sports Web. That's it, man.
And that candle is
big time.
definitely not going to burn out here, guys, because we say three things on this show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Dennis, your thoughts on that big win versus the Falcons? I get it. It's the Falcons, but still, it's a road win that you absolutely needed, especially with the way the Bucs team has played on the road this year.
And the Falcons have given them problems in the past. So, not giving Tom Brady, excuse me, I cough. I don't think it's COVID. Tom Brady has never had a problem with the Falcons, obviously, except for in the first half of the Super Bowl. But in terms of the Bucs, I mean, they've had a problem with that team. So it was a great win. Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at it. I mean, when you talked MVP, I mean, how can it not be Brady? Although Kyler Murray, even though, he was hurt for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, if he finishes strong, maybe he's in the running. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. But, based on the way the numbers have been, I think that Brady's the guy. This week, this is going to be an interesting week. I think Josh Allen has a monster game against the Bucs.
Tell me why.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you
Absolutely.
why.
I want you to tell me why.
2 things. One, I think he will be so ticked off about that loss earlier on this week against the Patriots in the wind and the cold and everything else. I think they will be laser focused. I think the Bucs secondary, is getting healthier, but with some recent injuries, I think that you can throw on this team. I think we know that you can throw on this team. At least you could in the past. And I think he's mobile enough to maybe get away from some of that pass rush that plagued Matt Ryan last week. So I really think, in fact, I'll make a bold prediction right here. I think statistically wise, Josh Allen's the number 1 quarterback this week in the NFL.
Wow. Henry, you disagree with that? I mean, Allen coming into the...
No, it's not that I disagree with him, and I'm going to let you finish before I go ahead and rebuttal to what Dennis said.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, finish what you were saying, Peter.
Oh, no. 26 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Harry the Greek, you're the man here. You go ahead and start it out. He's definitely a test for this Bucs defense.
Without question.
He has been their whole offense at this point. And really, if you talk to a lot of people in league circles, it's either Allen or Diggs. They have no running game, but Dennis could be right. Although I will say this, I think the Bucs will defend for it because finally they're going to be healthy in that back end. How do you see it, Harry?
Well, you know what? And I got to tell you, that's part of it. But before we talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and everybody that knows me knows I've been extremely critical, especially these last 5 games against the Buccaneers. So please don't read into this as if I'm defending Tampa Bay when I state this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
When the season started, the Buffalo Bills had a mediocre to the tougher side of the schedules of everybody in the National Football League. After week 11 of this year, when you combine the first 11 weeks and then they tallied their schedules, they had the easiest schedule in the entire National Football League. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This team has done zero as far as a handicapper's perspective to turn around and bet your hard-earned money on this team, especially taking the points. I understand the thought process of saying Josh Allen could have many yards, Tampa's defense, blah, 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 blah. Dennis, no disrespect here. I don't see this game this way at all. And I'll tell you what, if Carlton Davis is playing this week, if he's playing, this is going to be a very one-sided game. The line's not nearly anywhere near it should be. It's only 3.5. And get this, Dennis, 0 juice if you bet the Bucs right now. It's even money, and in some cases, it's plus 105. Okay. This game, if Buffalo was fully healthy and they had a running game, this game would be a pick 'em right now. This game, if it was in Buffalo, that would be the Buffalo Bills -3 if this team was functioning on all 8 cylinders. Because before the season started, I thought that was one of the best teams in the National Football League. Oh, and by the way, I predicted the Patriots and have money on them winning the AFC East this year. Just to let you know.
Harry, so many things that you just said. Now I'm even more convinced that I love Buffalo in this game.
Great.
And I will tell you what. First of all, when Vegas gives you a number that appears too good to be true, what is it?
It's definitely too good to be true, without question.
It's not them making a mistake, because they don't make mistakes very often.
Nope.
So let's see. Buffalo looked horrific in their last game against the Patriots. So the public has a very short memory. So a lot of times in the public's perspective, they're going to remember what just happened. All right, Buffalo looked awful. And yet, they're a 3.5 point dog, that's it, to a team who's at home with Tom Brady putting up a ton of points, and Gronk just looked great in his last outing, and blah, 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 all that stuff. So this is Las Vegas saying to me, we're going to give you the Bucs, and all I have to do is just win by over a field goal against a team that looks like they're falling apart, who played the easiest schedule, who's all these other things. In my opinion, and I have told you many times, although I did have the Lions over the Bears on Thanksgiving plus the points, but I've told you the majority of the time, NFL is not my thing. I'm all about college basketball and college football, but I really, really like Buffalo in this spot, plus the 3.5, maybe outright. I'm sitting here looking at some projections for this upcoming game. Now, I'm talking a lot of fantasy stuff as opposed to wins and losses. Right. I just think Josh Allen, because he's a quarterback who's not afraid to run the ball, I think that's going to open up the passing game even more, because I think he's going to roll out. I think he's going to move around, and I think that's going to open up the passing game. You're right. They don't have much of a running game with Zach Moss and Singletary, but you know what? Maybe they don't need much of a running game if your quarterback is as mobile and can move out like Josh Allen has been known to do. And he didn't want to do it in the cold weather because he didn't want to take a hit when it was 20 below wind chill or whatever it was, right? So I think after hearing what you just said about why the Bucs look too easy in a sense, I think that just seals it for me. I love Buffalo in this game plus the points, if not outright.
You know what? I understand that thinking, but let me just get a last chance to respond to that. The first game of the season, they lost 23-16 to Pittsburgh, when everybody thought that Pittsburgh was a really, really good football team, when in fact, Ben Roethlisberger's washed up and they have a very overrated defense. And they were exposed by who? The Chicago Bears, that should have beat them. Then they went on and got into a shooting match where they didn't allow anything. And Buffalo looked like world beaters. 35-0. Washington, 43-21. Houston, 40-0. Kansas City, they won 38-20. And then all of a sudden, here it comes. People figured it out. They don't have a running game. You go after Josh Allen. Lost 34-31. Miami, they beat them 26-11 on a very banged-up team. Then they went and played the Jacksonville Jaguars, where Jacksonville beat them 9-6, and Jacksonville attacked one thing. Then they beat the Jets, who wasn't going to. Indianapolis handed them their ass 41-5. Then they lost in New England. There was a New Orleans game against no Jameis Winston and everything else. Listen, this team, trust me when I tell you, Dennis, I understand for those reasons why you like them. They are, if they put up, and believe me, Tampa's got problems, okay? But when you make a team one-dimensional, which I don't personally believe that the Buffalo Bills are a one-dimensional team. This is another subject for something else. They do have a running game, just like Tampa. They just have the same disease Tampa has. I forgot how to run disease, okay?
Well, they're not going to run on Tampa anyway. They're not going to run on Tampa. Nobody's run on Tampa.
Really? A fourth-string running back ran on Tampa for 100 yards. Tampa's defense is not all that in a bag of chips like they used to be. This team has issues in its coaching. It's because they don't want to put these people in the right defensive alignments. Forget that the secondary was hurt. They weren't any good anyway to begin with in the secondary from last year. That front seven's what made that secondary look good. And when they got banged up, bro, this is really, really not pretty. But for those reasons, I understand exactly why you like Buffalo. That's what I want the public to feel about it. But I'm telling you, stay away from this game. It's not getting my money. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Either way.
Take Buffalo money line.
Oh, God.
Phillips, ABC Action News sports broadcaster on the Sports Web.
I love Denis.
Yeah, and I do too. And I love St. Peter, of course. My professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Sports, Mr. Harry the Greek here live on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. You go back to that running game. Cordell Patterson had some success. Atlanta had some success. And really, I think the key to it is JPP not necessarily being 100%. Denis, is that what you see with that defensive line? They don't have JPP 100%, and that's why somewhat teams have been able to run against this team this year.
Guys, they're the number one rushing defense in the NFL. They give up 84.3 yards per game. They're tied with Baltimore at 84.3. So let's not downplay how strong of a rush defense. Maybe they didn't take Atlanta seriously. Maybe they jumped out to a big lead. You know, who knows? I don't know. But you can't argue the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. They are the best or tied for the best rushing defense. And the only time that they've, and as you said, I think injuries are going to come into play. They do with every team. I always get sick of hearing people, especially fantasy teams. Oh, my team's hurt. Every team is hurt. Every team goes through injuries. And it's how, truthfully, a lot of it's luck. Whereas at the end of the year, if you're healthy in time for your playoff run, or if those injuries pop up toward the end of the season. But, you know, I agree with Harry in the sense that I don't think Buffalo is a horrific running team, but they haven't had to. I mean, you've with the depth that they have at receiver, although Cole Beasley, who was open, by the way, to win that game against the Patriots.
Yes,
but
he was.
I mean, come on, all he had to do was lead him, and there was your ball game right there. But
oh my God,
but regardless,
I know. I love those kind of football games, Denis. My God, I just love it when the elements take certain things out of the game. Everybody likes to see these fancy offensive game plans. You know what? I love games like what New England put together when they ran the ball 40 plus times. They passed the ball 3. It couldn't have been any more boring. But man, those defenses played so well. You know what? It's going to be a really good game between Buffalo and Tampa. I don't have the nads to go ahead and bet it. I've tried 100 different ways to do it. It wouldn't surprise me to see Tampa just blow this team out. But then again, Buffalo needs to make a statement because they're not the same team that they were last year. They just aren't.
At least they haven't been.
No, they haven't. You're right. There you go, Denis. Thank you. That was exactly what I said. At least they have not been.
Let's get a little controversial here. Speaking of making a statement, Bruce Arians has basically said in so many words he's upset with Antonio Brown and Mike Edwards. There was a report from ProFootballTalk.com that said that the Bucs would consider cutting an Antonio Brown. Denis, do you believe this? And how do you feel about the situation with Brown and the fake vaccination card and what the NFL stance was with the 3-game suspension?
I mean, you're getting into politics practically, and that's just something I don't even feel like talking about politics. I mean, at this point, no, I'm not gonna because because I think the big question is going to be, will the Bucs or can the Bucs perform at a comparable level minus AB than they can with AB? And I think that's a really big question, and one that I'm kind of inclined to think the answer is no. Mm-hmm. And I think their offense the last few weeks has kind of shown that at times.
Peter agrees with you, by the way. Peter agrees with what you just said.
And I'll tell you this right now, and I really haven't gotten an opportunity to talk about this, so I'm going to go full screen here for a minute. I feel like, look, it's disappointing. You knew what to expect when you got Antonio Brown, right, guys? I mean, you knew that not only with talent, that he was also going to have those red flags. So is it surprising to me? No. But I think what's being missed here is the story from Dan Graziano of ESPN said he actually did get vaccinated. My thing is the NFL and their dropping of the ball. You don't suspend Aaron Rodgers, but you suspend Antonio Brown, and Brown actually may be vaccinated. Rodgers went to a Halloween party. He went to a media meeting and got nothing. The difference is that Brown put a target on his back, and Rodgers did a sales technique. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. How do you guys feel?
And it's not what you know, it's who you know.
It's who you
I
know.
mean, you just hit the nail on the head. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and he's the guy that can yell at Chicago fans, "I own you," and still look okay. And if somebody else had done that, quite possibly it would have gone a different way. There wouldn't have been the, "Oh, look how funny that is," or "Oh, that's great." I mean, Antonio Brown, you hit the nail on the head. Antonio Brown has a history, and he has a shorter leash in a sense. And I guess maybe that's what it boils down to. Maybe after the third strike or the fourth strike, there's less leniency than after the first strike. And that's not unusual. That happens in a lot of places. But to me, that's a whole other argument that you could get into. Are they being harder on someone than someone else? Well, they're technically not supposed to be, but do we think they are? I agree with you, Peter. I think they are too. But that's not even answering the question I originally went with, which is, will the Bucs? And it's going to be a really interesting situation because, I mean, they're not dumb. They know they are a better team with Antonio Brown in that lineup. They know they are. And if they don't, they're the only one who doesn't know. And we know their front office knows. So do they find a way to, make up for it? Do they find a way to get him back in the lineup in their hopes of getting another Super Bowl? Because without him in the lineup, it is a much tougher task for them to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
I agree with you on that, Harry. Is that where you stand? I mean, am I right about what I said here with Rodgers? Again, I read the story. Brown was vaccinated, even though he faked the vaccination card. He was actually vaccinated, according to Dan Graziano of ESPN. Rodgers wasn't, and yet Rodgers has no suspension at all. Make some sense of this. I think he's silent at this point. I don't know what happened to Harry. Harry, you okay? We got no sound. Yeah, we got no sound there, bud. What's going on? He's speechless at this point. I tell you what, go out to these comments here really quick. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Roger Shue says, "Hey guys, what's going on, Tribal Troll?" Roger Shue again, "Why do you come on the same time as AEW?" Man, I'm sorry if you like wrestling. I love wrestling too, but it's sports web time. I've been off enough. Christopher Cole, what's up, everyone? Let's effing go. You like football? Yes, I do. Thank you, Alliston. Sandra Nagel, mother and future agent, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area with NSPN. I love St. Pete and the sports web. Love it. Fat Mike's Chicago Sports of 1252. Tampa is going to roll the Bills. Says the Greek, my guys, Peter, Harry, and Denis. Christopher Cole, we need to run the ball 20 to 25 times. Harry has talked about this. Let me get Harry back in here. There we go. I think we got your sound. We'll go out to you in a moment. Yep. But really quick here, Denis, and then I'll get to you, Harry, about the Antonio Brown stuff. Is that a game plan? Do you feel like Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, who was under the weather, only got one carry, so hopefully he's healthy this week, the Bucs need to enact in running the ball 20 to 25 times?
They're not going to, though.
Okay.
Yeah, what Harry said. They're not going to. I do think you're right. And by the way, I think Fournette, the last couple of weeks, I was just thinking about you last week, because remember I said I will never, ever play a Bucs back in a fantasy lineup. I don't have any in there, but I will tell you, if I had Fournette, he would be in my starting lineup because he has really turned it on in the last couple of weeks. And I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him the ball 15 times. I would not be the least bit surprised.
Yeah, and I think you can. I mean, here you look at what the Patriots did. They threw the ball 3 times and ran for over 200. You would think the Bucs and their offensive game plan would include Leonard Fournette and the victim of volume and a Ronald Jones, right?
Well, without question, but can I please go back to the Aaron Rodgers?
Sure, go for it.
I would love to.
Sure.
First off, Antonio Brown wouldn't have had any problems whatsoever if he just paid his chef.
Correct.
Okay? First off, don't even be a stiff, number one. Number two, if he was vaccinated, great. What the hell do you have to buy one for anyway? 3, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm going to just for a second because it's Aaron Rodgers. You know what? That pompous prick, someone needs to put a helmet in the middle of his sternum next week and just put him out of the game for one day. I own you, Chicago. Give me a break, okay? I really hope that he just runs up into the middle of the pocket and, you know what? I'm not even going to call for a great player. I want number 44 to drill him just once right in the ear hole and put him in the turf, and then you can see the real tissue paper come out. Let him feel real good. So someone can stand over him going, I owe you, Aaron. Go,
Harry's bitter.
yourself.
Harry is bitter.
Bitter. Let me tell you something. That guy could have maggots crawling out of his ass, okay, for all I care. He is the most pompous, arrogant piece of you-know-what I've ever seen in a uniform. It is absolutely horrible. Now I'll tell you how I really feel about him. You know what? That spineless little, you know what I'm talking about? He's screaming at girls in the stand going, I own you. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, but, he kind of does. There is that.
Oh, God, Dennis, you really get, you know what? Now you're going to get me going. I'm sending the link to Fat Mike. I am sending the link to Fat Mike. You both are done. Hold on. And you better put him on.
Well, kind of does. I mean, I hate to say it again, but I think, and by the way, I'm struggling here. My fantasy, my very first week of fantasy playoffs are this week, and I have Jalen Hurts, so he's on a bye. So I've got Justin Fields and Ben Roethlisberger. I'm going to start one of those quarterbacks in fantasy playoffs because I've got Hurts on a bye. Roethlisberger looked really great in the fourth quarter against the Ravens, and all of a sudden it looked like they turned into that team they were a couple of years ago where Ben was throwing the ball 60 times a game and looked really, really good doing it. They came back and won that game. But Fields, against the Packers on the road, I don't know. I love mobile quarterbacks. I love Justin Fields. At least I did earlier in the year, and I was wrong completely on that because I thought he would be much better than he is. But at the end of the day, I just think the Packers kill the Bears again.
I do too, but I'm going to make you a prediction. Alec Ogletree and number 58, which I don't want to say his name too loud because maybe a ref might be listening, they are going to beat the brakes off of Aaron Rodgers on a couple of plays. Do you honestly think that the city of Chicago, with that fan base and that pride that they have on defense, is going to tolerate a quarterback who weighs 200 pounds to talk that much bull crap on the sideline? Are you serious? Let me tell you something, man. I don't care if the Bears win one ball game a year. If they beat the brakes off the Packers, they won the Super Bowl. And I'm telling you, the Packers are in for a nightmare in the first half. They are going to have it brought to them, and they're going to have them brought to them hard. They will run the ball on Green Bay because Green Bay's not that good on defense. But I promise you, you will see a lot of tissue paper flying in this game, and you're going to see a lot of roughing the quarterback.
All right, guys.
Montgomery looked good last week, by the way.
The running game does look good. And by the way, I got to give a shout out to Jason Peters. The guy's like 150 years old. He's the third string left tackle. And in 4 games, the last 4 games, he's given up, you ready? 1 sack.
And I tell you right now, if it was not for Andy Dalton's early interceptions, the Bears would have been in that game. Guys, really quick, we're going to go
Is Mike in your back room? Because I really want him on here.
And we also got Shooter and Stache from We the Thunder talking Tampa Bay Lightning. So hold up, guys. We'll get everybody on the sports web here. Stand by. Fat Mike. Be nice. I know.
Hell no.
It ain't going to happen.
That's my boy right here. Mike, they're talking bullshit about your boy here.
Oh, man, I tell you. I was commenting in the chat. I liked Dennis all the way up until he reminded me of Aaron Rodgers fucking telling us who our daddy was. Dennis, you were great all the way up until that point, but now I can't stand you.
You know what? I hate to say it, but it boils down to scoreboard, Mike. And
I know.
Trust me, I've been there. And there's certain players, Sidney Crosby, who I detest. No matter, even though I respect the world out of him as a hockey player, I detest the guy.
Right.
But bottom line, man.
Let's face it, guys. Aaron Rodgers finds that attractive. Okay. There you go. That's for Aaron Rodgers. Here you go, Aaron.
Harry. Who doesn't like pussy, Harry? Come on now.
No, that's a cat. I'm not going there.
I know. Let's get real here. The one thing that's legit truth. The one thing that's the legit truth is I just got done talking about it on my show. I just wrapped up on my end over here at 1252. All these Bear fans and the people who think that this is a rivalry game, Harry. I know that you and I fall into this trap every single time we play the Packers. It hasn't been a rivalry in fucking 35 games.
I know.
It's not a rivalry when the team just constantly comes here and kicks your teeth in. Like it's not a rivalry. It's an ass whipping. Every single time we go to Green Bay or they come here, we get our shit pushed in, and it's not even fun. We get fucking trounced by this team. Aaron Rodgers is the Chicago Bears kryptonite, just like Brett Favre was. And I don't see this game being pretty. I saw look out for the first half. Yeah, look out for the first half when Aaron Rodgers throws 3 touchdowns and has 300 yards going into the
I
third
got
quarter.
that. I just said Aaron Rodgers needs to look out in the first half, not the Green Bay Packers. I am telling you, they are not going to forget that. I know this team. I know the pride of this team, and I know the fan base. Mike, you can't sit there and tell me that they're not going to try to get a little extra oomph into Aaron Rodgers sometime in this game.
Really quick, guys. I want to hold up here. I want to introduce Shooter here of Shooter
All right.
to Denis, Harry, and Fat Mike. Shooter, what's going on, buddy? Welcome to the Evolution. We're supposed to get you on at 9:30, but you know what we say here on the Sports Web. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. How do you feel? Because I know you cover the Bucs about the Antonio Brown situation. Welcome.
Hi, Shooter.
Yeah, well, Antonio Brown, he had his whole controversy with the Bucs this time, and let him sit out his 3 games. I think he's injured anyway, and we'll see if he comes back. I think there's the rumors that they're going to let him go, but if they were going to let him go, what are they waiting for, right? So
Exactly.
I think AB's going to be back.
Are you going snowboarding?
I am in. It's funny you got Denis on tonight because I am in snowy downtown Tampa. This is actually from a video we made last year. We made a parody video. It was Frosty the Snowman. We had Sonia Bryson, who sings the national anthem for the Lightning. She sang the song for us, and the whole background is downtown Tampa covered in a foot of snow. So, Denis, any chance of that happening in the next month? I think it's like probably about 75 degrees out right now.
Denis.
Yeah, it's going to be 85 tomorrow, but you know what? You never know. I mean, it happened in 1989. We had an inch of snow on Christmas morning. So, hey, Christmas miracles, it can happen.
And it's true because the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Bucs at the old Tampa Stadium. I remember driving home for Venice, listening to that game, and it was just too cold for a person like myself. You know, I always say with the Floridian, we're like Chihuahuas here. We can't handle the coldness because we don't have the fur to deal with it. So how is that forecast looking here, Denis? And really quick, before I get you out of here, what did you think about the college playoff? Did they get it right with Alabama versus Cincinnati and Georgia versus Michigan?
I think they did. I mean, Georgia got a second shot, obviously, after losing to Bama. Ohio State had 2 losses. If they had only had 1 to Michigan, maybe they would have stayed in. I don't know. But I think it's hard to go wrong. Cincinnati is the big wild card, and we'll find out. You know, it's like you.
Does Cincy score in this game?
No, I think they do. I think they do. I mean, it might be, it might be garbage time. I don't know. I don't think obviously, I don't think it'll be a close game. I mean, honestly, I got killed with Auburn giving up that 97-yard drive because I had Auburn money line, and that was a tough pill to swallow, I'll tell you. But I think they got the best 3. Michigan's a tough team, but you know what? They earned it. They beat Ohio State and they mauled Iowa. So you know what? I think they deserve to be there. And in terms of the 4th team, does it really matter? Because does anybody really think there's even a remote chance of Cincinnati beating Alabama? I don't think so. So at the end of the day, it's going to be probably Alabama and Georgia again. And I think a lot of people will love having that rematch.
All right, good
Denis,
stuff.
I had a quick question before he goes. Denis, I know you like a little gambling, so I'm going to give you a little help for tomorrow. Pittsburgh's at Minnesota Thursday night. Minnesota's -3, totals 43.5. What do you like?
Wait a minute. Are you not even, because the Hard Rock closed? I haven't even looked at it. And it's so depressing. I'm going through withdrawal. But wait a minute. Are you talking about? You're talking about the Steelers and the Vikings. Yeah. You know what's interesting about that? That total is 43.5, and I thought that was kind of surprising based on what I was saying. That in that 4th quarter, Ben opened it up, and I'm going to be intrigued whether or not the Steelers go back to Steeler football and just give the ball to Najee Harris 20 times and keep it short. I think Minnesota, Dalvin Cook is supposed to be back. Thielen is out. Madison's a nice replacement for him anyway. That's a tough game. The fact that it's 43.5, I like the over because I do kind of think Pittsburgh is going to open it up a little bit. And Justin Jefferson, there is nobody out there who can cover that guy. So I think I like the over. I don't like the game either way, but I do like the over.
That is my absolute pick of the week. You're getting it live and you're getting it early. The over in that game. You are absolutely correct. Generally, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. Not in this case. The gambling gods have bestowed upon us an actual game that you can hit. If you want to play parlays, great. Tie everything into the over tomorrow.
All right, good stuff, guys. Go ahead and promote yourselves here. Mr. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, and then we're going to go out to Shooter and Stache. Go.
Hey, Monday through Friday, 6 and 11. I do want to mention that this weekend and next weekend, our family has a Children's Miracle Network hot chocolate fundraiser. It's in my neighborhood in Palm Harbor. It's in Indian Trails, and I know at least one guy who watches this show was at my house drinking hot chocolate a couple of weeks ago. So the bottom line is all the funds go toward the Children's Miracle Network. We literally have thousands of people show up. It's this Saturday from 6 to 10. It's next Saturday from 6 to 10. Bring the family because it is some of the most amazing Christmas lights in the entire Bay Area in this neighborhood. And stop by, have a cup of hot chocolate in honor of the Children's Miracle Network.
Did you invite me?
Yeah, Harry, me and you are going to have to get out there and go to this. I like hot chocolate. I love Denis Phillips here on the Sports Web. Harry, go ahead and promote yourself.
I'm Harry the Greek. You can catch me Friday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time on the over-under. I'm your host, my co-host, Mr. Peter Blake from the Sports Web, and the guy right below us, when you do see him, that's Mr. Fat Mike. He's the man who runs the whole damn ship. Denis, Shooter, Mike, Peter, love you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. Denis, I love the debates, but it's actually very friendly, and that's what it's all about.
Really
Merry
quick.
Christmas if I don't see everybody. What do you want, Peter?
Let me go out to the Stache here. Stache, go ahead and introduce yourself. A Shooter and Stache here of We the Thunder. You got Denis Phillips, Harry the Greek here. You got Fat Mike. Go ahead. There's the Stache, guys.
What's up, guys? Happy holidays. Good to be here.
Hey, it's okay, Stache. You can say Merry Christmas on this platform.
Well, it's only because we're right in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Trust me, I'm not afraid to drop the Merry Christmas anytime. It's just literally just timing for me.
I'm just a little fired up right now, man.
Oh, I heard. And I just want to say right now, I feel exactly the same way about Aaron Rodgers, bro. That guy is one of the most pompous, arrogant. Even for a quarterback, that guy is arrogant. You know what I mean? So
yep.
I totally agree with everything you said, except for the fact that he does kind of own the Bears.
No, he does kind of own the Bears, but I can assure you one thing: they gonna get in his ear hole in this game. Trust me when I tell you that. No, they are. They are going to get in his ear hole this game.
All right, let me go out to Fat Mike. Go ahead and promote yourself.
I'm Fat Mike.
Love it.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We'll go out to Shooter and Stache here. Thanks a lot for the time.
Hey, real quick. Tampa Bay cheats and they bought both their Stanley Cups. So eat a dick.
So eat a dick.
My championship.
My last I'm fucking out of here. Tampa Bay can eat my fat hair.
Oh, go here. All right, there we go. Goodbye to Denis. All right, Shooter and Stache, guys. Let's go ahead and get your intro. Of course, we have music, but I can't use it, so we'll go with this. All right, guys. Shooter and Stache here on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And let's talk about it, guys. This Tampa Bay Lightning team, to me, is pretty amazing. But let's talk about the losses in the offseason. Give me your thoughts, of course, winning a second Stanley Cup in a row. Go, guys.
So winning a second Stanley Cup in a row, my thoughts are that's amazing, right? I mean, pretty much what we've waited for. And I think this is why it was so sweet, right? Is because we've been waiting for that for so long. And you can go all the way back to 10 years ago, 2011, when we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7, which, by the way, since, in the last 10 years, I think we've been there like five years at least. And we've lost that game a lot. So we've only made it to the Stanley Cup final one other time besides 2020 and 2021. And we lost, obviously, in 2015 to Chicago. So all that heartbreak, having the core of the team and seeing them kind of finally put it all together and pull off back-to-back Stanley Cups was awesome, especially because we started our show in that 2020 season, basically right before COVID hit. And then we started doing kind of these post-game shows throughout the playoffs. So we were there for all of it. And, going back to losing some of these players, just the nature of the beast, right? It's a business. And I think that's why this one hurts so much, to lose some of those players that really kind of helped us from the beginning, like a Tyler Johnson, and then some of these guys that came in through trades and acquisitions that really were, instrumental to the Bolts really kind of winning those 2 cups.
Yeah, and your thoughts, Stache?
I think, the loss of some guys. I mean, a lot of the fans made a big deal out of it. We talked about it obviously on our show, because that's kind of what we do. We talk Lightning hockey. That's our thing. We love it.
Right.
And Yanni, obviously a big fan guy, had a couple of big moments. Coleman, we called him Pickles. That was his nickname coming into town. We stuck with it. That was our guy really on our show. That was the guy that we really, I think, gravitated to the most as far as those free agent guys that came in.
Pickleback.
Third line, picklebacks. We did a lot of those on the post-game show. A lot of picklebacks in honor of Coleman doing his thing. When you lose a line like that was so instrumental in what they did, penalty kill minutes that those guys had, the shutdown minutes starting off the period and the opening possession and setting the tone night in, night out during those playoff runs, that almost can't be overstated how much of a loss that is. But at the same time, it almost is constantly overstated, because the team the depth that this team has was already there. And if you go and look at what they have in their talent now and the cap hits that they have and the way that they're able to kind of weather the storm this last season, they're still looking really good for not just this year for the three-peat, but the next 4 years, to really still have this core group together and really keep this whole mentality and this closeness and this tight-knit mentality together. Because if you listen to some of these new guys coming in with Corey Perry, I was just watching the Riley Nash, the guy they just got an acquisition off of waivers from Winnipeg, played with Columbus for a couple of seasons in the playoffs against us. He was talking about how already just a couple of days, the closeness of this team is so apparent. Bogosian said they played a couple of months together last year, reached out to him right away, said, hey, you're going to love how close-knit this team is. So, yeah, those guys leaving hurts, and it sucks, especially as fans. And like Shooter was saying, what they've contributed, especially guys like Johnson, Yanni Gourde, who was not just a guy on the ice, but a guy off the ice, a personality a lot of the fans gravitated to. Those guys hurt. But in the business side of it, if you look at what Julien Brisebois has been able to do and manage this, and in the midst of all this, not only re-sign Point, but give him the money he deserves, the only real casualty going forward, aside from that third line, which with the young guys they've been able to fill in and bringing in Corey Perry, has made that fourth line just incredibly dynamic, especially this last 8 or 10 games. This team is, like I said, they're primed to maybe only lose Andre Palat due to free agency over the next few years. Other than that, we're looking maybe a 4-year run still to maintain this dynasty. So that's kind of where I'm looking at, especially if you see the hockey they're playing right now, going into Toronto, only 2 points behind them. And they're tied. That's tied for the East. And they're only 2 points behind Washington as well. So if they could pull off a win, they're tied for the best team in the East. All of a sudden, without a Kucherov, without a Point, and without that incredibly loved third line from last 2 seasons.
Yeah. And a lot of those guys, Peter, it's a new team compared to last year, and they had more turnover than they had before. So, a lot of the diehards and newer fans were a little bit worried with how the season started, and they started slow. And you got to take in consideration, these guys have played more games than any other team, maybe in NHL history in this time span. And, winning a cup is not easy. Winning 2 in a row is damn near impossible. So for this team to come out the gates a little slow is completely understandable. But, to me, hockey is one of the ultimate team sports. It takes time for people to kind of find their roles and figure out kind of like how this team's really going to come together. And when you throw in some, major injuries, when you lose a Nikita Kucherov, one of the best players in the world, when you lose a Braden Point for extended amount of time, it's been a work in progress pretty much all season to figure out, hey, what do we have here? And I think what you've seen really in the last several weeks is this team really kind of start to put together its identity. And Stache talked about it, that fourth line, if it is really a fourth line with Maroon, Corey Perry, who's just been lighting it up lately. I know I think Maroon kind of coined it as the school bus line, but I saw someone on Twitter call it the fine wine line.
Yes.
And I kind of like that. All right. Aging with grace, these guys. And they are crushing it. Patty Maroon might score 20 goals this season.
35, and 36. I want to say those guys are.
It's amazing, guys, because the first 16 games for Perry, he only had 1 point, and now he's taken off. Have you guys first and foremost bought into Perry? Because there were a lot of Lightning fans out there that said, you know what? I'm not sure. He played for Montreal. He's a dirty player, but he's been an MVP before. So are you guys buying into this? And do you think he can continue this production?
I called it on our podcast. The episode after we won the second cup, well, technically the third Lightning Cup, second in a row. I called it. I said I could see Corey Perry jumping ship. He's been one of these guys that has been kind of going around, and he's really started to take off. And I think for those guys that like us that watch every single game, we weren't really worried about it because we'd see him getting really good scoring chances and they just weren't going in. So we knew eventually they would come, but for that line to kind of come together and, hey, don't look now, but there's a new triplet line in town called the Kid line that, you've got Radish with his first 2 goals. You've got Kachuk. We call him Ketchup on the show with his first career goal. And Ross Colton's kind of the centerman for that line. Watch out, because if those guys can kind of start clicking together like they have in the last week, man, this team's going to be really tough to beat. And as Stache mentioned, we are right on the heels of Toronto, and that's our next game on tomorrow night. So I'm super pumped to see us go back to Toronto and get to play them again, because we kind of had a crappy loss against them last time.
Yeah, Stache, talk about that kid line, because that's been the big time story. And of course, it's always great in sports. You got that storyline, and this storyline has been Radish and Ketchup, as you call them, playing together when they were younger, and now, basically thriving on the same line and giving a lot of NHL teams nightmares because of how young they are. They were drafted in the second round in 2016. They basically came up together, and that chemistry, like Shooter talked about, is coming together with this line.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely nailed it right there. Our fellow Joe Smith wrote a great article about that and how they basically grew up on the ice together. They've been great friends. They've gone through almost every organization together. And it's pretty obvious when you put them out there. And, who are they out there with now? Ross, the boss, Colton, just the guy that scored the Stanley Cup winning goal, So you talk about future talent and the future being bright. That line has it all going for it right now, and it is just almost like that fourth line, if you will. And that's kind of how just to kind of get on a small tangent, that's the beauty of this team and why they're so strong and why I think they're still poised to go so far is because it's like clearly they have a 1 and a 2 line, but after that it's kind of hazy and gray, which is the third line and which is the fourth line, and you never really know which line Coop's going to throw out there to start the period. And now you're seeing in the last couple of games that kid line has started to get that honor. The fourth line, the fine wine line had gotten a few starts here and there, but now that kid line is now starting to get the opening face off to start off the periods. So that just goes to show you what kind of trust Coop has in them and how much they've grown. And we all saw, I mean, if you follow the team a little bit at all on social media,
sure.
You saw that moment of him on the bench with his arm around each of those guys, his head in between them, and they're just laughing and having that great moment. And that just goes back again to the closeness of this team and the bond that they all have. Even these 2 young guys, they've still kind of been in the organization. They know what the organization is about, and they understand the mentality. So them coming into it, they're prepared. And it's like Coop is like, he's like a big brother to those guys almost. It's not even like it's hard to explain the dynamic he now has in that locker room, but man, it's really cool to see the way he can just kind of step in with these young guys and really have that bond right away too.
And we're on with Shooter and Stache here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web live on NSPN, Tampa Bay TV, and of course, I Love St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Once again, go ahead and promote what you guys do, because I really appreciate it. I try to tune in as much as I can when I'm not on my show. I just love what you guys do with the Lightning fans. Go ahead and tell everybody about it.
So you got to check us out, Shooter in the Stash, on Facebook or on YouTube. And that is where we do our podcast. And we were kind of talking about it last night. Our podcast really isn't a traditional podcast. It's actually a lot like your show, and you're kind of the inspiration, I could say, for getting our show set up and kind of how you run it and how you interact with folks. So, we saw what you were doing, and we wanted to do something. We didn't see a lot out there that was like dedicated to the Bolts, which is a team that we were really dedicated to. It's a team that we really bonded over, and it's a sport that we really love. So, we decided to start doing this podcast. We got really lucky from the start to get some really great guests that were familiar with some of the stuff that we did with the animation. So we were able to have like, Greg Wolf on, Seth Kuchner. I mentioned Sonia Bryson Kurtzy earlier. She's, we're blessed because she's basically like a friend of the show now. She was in the chat last night. But check it out. We do Tuesday nights. If we have a game, if the Lightning have a game, we go live afterwards. Even if we're all at the game, we are outside of the stadium broadcasting. And then if we don't have a game, that's usually when we have a guest on. So we'll try to grab someone. Stache mentioned Joe Smith. We're due to have Joe Smith from The Athletic back on. We get Eric Erlinson, Lightning Insider, on. So we've had some really cool guests. Still trying to crack the Lightning here to let us have some guests from inside Amelie or some more guests to send our way. But, we have a really good time with the people in the chat. It's super interactive. I share my screen all the time. We play shooter games. We did some polls last night. We designed our own Stadium Series jerseys. And our third co-host, Thomas Schooley, he's in charge of this big group, or an admin for this big group called Thunderbolt. So go check them out on Facebook. It's a huge community of Lightning fans. We basically put together our own Stadium Series jerseys on my computer, kind of like picked like what we thought it would look like. And we had, who was it? Kaylee Mizell from Bally Sports as our guest on that night. And she had seen the jerseys. She saw them. This was before they were released, obviously. So she had seen them, and I put her on the spot. I was like, so did any of us nail it? And she was like, well, yeah, I think Shooters is the best, and Stache would look really great as a hoodie. And she didn't say a thing about Thomas Schooley's. And Thomas, our third co-host, he nailed it. She texted me the day that those jerseys came out, and she's like, did you see them? Yeah, I couldn't say anything, but yeah, Thomas Schooley really kind of nailed those jerseys. So we do kind of fun stuff like that and keep it interactive and keep it interesting. And we've been able to kind of meet a lot of these folks that go to Lightning games that we're at during intermissions or after the game. So it's been really fun.
And the other thing is, if you go check us out on any of those portals, you can find archive stuff too. So if you want to go relive, like we said, we do live post games. And when we were in the playoffs, we did live post games after every game. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what the thing about us. We kind of got a crash course. I was looking at it last night. We're already done like 86 episodes now here in like the last couple of years.
Amazing.
So we're almost up to 100 episodes already. So if you want to go back and know what it was like whenever we celebrated the first cup or the second cup or that 5 overtime game or anything, you can go back and do that too. So that's kind of cool. Because we celebrate like crazy. That's the thing about us. We're a fan show. We're definitely a fan-driven show. You can call in. You don't have to be on video. We're actually trying to work on something like you and having a phone number too, so people can just call in. They don't have to have a microphone or anything else like that.
I can help you with that. I can definitely help you guys with that.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
We'll definitely get together on that. We'll talk more. And look, I definitely want to incorporate you on the sports web because I believe, like one of our good mutual friends here, JP Peterson, said, the Lightning right now are right up there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is that how you guys see it? Both of those model organizations besides Stu Sternberg and the Rays?
Yeah, for sure. And, I think we've kind of talked about that. We've been on the show before, is how the Lightning really have broken out under the ownership of Jeffrey Vinnick, and how the Glazers have really rededicated themselves to the Buccaneers and what, even before Tom Brady came in, what they were kind of building towards, but just now with Tom Brady here too, and having both of those teams and those franchises, they're almost kind of mirror images of each other right now, strangely, as much as they can be with it being football and hockey. So yeah, I definitely think that, especially in the fandom too, and you see the support around town and what team really gets the most love on the car flags and the business posters and all that stuff. There's a lot of blue and white out there.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, you would have to agree again, Shooter, that this organization is, not only a model with their coaching, but also GM. Once again, Brisbois getting it done with all the moves he made in the offseason, and now with all the injuries to compound things. It's 1A, I think, for the Bucks, and also it's 1B for the Lightning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, listen, I put the Lightning above all other franchises in sports. If anyone hasn't taken a trip to downtown Tampa, right around the arena, in between the arena and Channelside or Sparkman's Wharf now, it's a whole new downtown.
And they just opened up
that
Channelside.
street.
Yeah, so now you can a lot easier get down there.
Yeah, they just opened up the street in between the stadium and Sparkman's Wharf, which was closed, under construction. Go down there and check it out, because a lot of that stuff is starting to open up. And it is like we have a second part of downtown that was all led by Jeff Vinnick. So it's really been amazing to see what he's done with the team and now what he's doing with this city. And, to me, it's always been kind of the premier franchise in sports. But hey, I want to tell the story for some of the Bucks fans that are watching. First off, I've got the shades on. The reason why is I had these on last night. These are Tampa Bay Lightning shades.
Nice.
I had these on last night because last night the Lightning committed a robbery in Montreal where we were losing 2-1 with 2 minutes left. Corey Perry, who else, scores to tie it up. And then
Corey Perry.
And then Andre Palat goes ahead and puts the go-ahead goal up with under a minute left, and the Bolts jetted out of town real quick after that robbery. But before that game, we were in Philly Sunday night, and I know Bucks fans, we don't like Philly at all, right? We don't like playing the Eagles.
Look, we don't like any Philly sports fans. Nobody likes Philly.
Right. That's right.
So listen to this: the Bolts go up there. They win. They get a touchdown. They put up 7. They win 7-1. And then that's their 1,000th franchise win. Not too shabby.
That's
and then on top of that, go find the video. Well, first off, Flyers can their coach after that game. They're playing horrible. And then I don't know if this is before or after the game, but the video's out there on Twitter. A canine dog gets on the ice, goes right to the logo in the middle,
center ice,
and drops
big old steamer.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
steamer. Not just like, oh, I'm nervous. Not like a nervous dog, like, oh, I got a little excited, I don't know what to do. No, a full on squat and pot and drop. Like this was like my toddler or my 5-year-old after like 2 days of like, no, I don't have to poop, and then boom, he's in there. Like that's impressive. That and then what else do you expect? Then they laid a big old egg on the ice, and then they ran their coach out of town. I mean, what else could it have been any better for a 1,000th victory for a Tampa Bay franchise than for that to happen in Philadelphia?
Of course, you remember the Tampa Bay Buccaneers closing down the Vet and then christening the new link with a shutout on Monday Night Football. Who could forget that? Once again, we're on with Shooter and the Stache here live on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. Really quick, I want to go out to this video, and then we got to get out to Leo Haggerty. But go ahead, intro this video really quick for the listeners and watchers out there, what you guys did for Thanksgiving.
So for the last, I think, 5 Thanksgivings, we put together the Tampa Bay Sports Thanksgiving. And 5 years ago, it started off with basically, a lot of our franchises were in trouble. And there was a lot of punchlines to be had. Throughout the last couple of years, things have gotten good. So we've kind of like turned the tables on Stu Sternberg a couple times. So what we did this year was we had Thanksgiving dinner at the Glazers' house. We have Jeff Vinnick there, the owner of the Lightning. We have Stu there, and we have some of our favorite players. And it's just for fun. All those videos started just for like comic relief, because at the time things were not looking up for Tampa Bay sports, and now it's like kind of tough to do stuff because it's like we're the champs, we're the best, we're Tampa Bay,
we're Tampa Bay.
So. But yeah, that was kind of the idea of the video. And
just real quick, Pete, if you don't mind, just real quick before we get to this, today there was some development, even though they're in the lockout right now, MLB. There was development between Stu Sternberg and Mayor Castor in Tampa. They finally had their first face-to-face. about possibly having the stadium move to Ybor City.
Mm.
So at least, you know, a little bit of glimmer of hope in that aspect. But of course, the lightning in that cloud is that, not to be funny, is that they still want to have the split season. And Mayor Castor said that she's kind of on board or open to the idea. So even if we still get it in Tampa, it sounds like Mayor Castor is willing to give them what they want in split season to get them on this side of Bay. And I don't know if I'm into that. But
No.
at least that we do see a little bit of positive movement, because that's the first time Sternberg has met face to face, and the Tampa City Council is pretty on board with it. They're just worried about, you know, affordable housing and a few other issues in the Ybor City area, and really the community outreach, which is something that we've talked about on previous iterations or other shows that we do when we talk about the Rays, Shooter and the Stache here, is the lack of community outreach from the Rays and the lack of face that they have in the public community as compared to the Bucks and the Lightning. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. You know, we still have till 2027, and obviously the lockout's still in the middle of it right now. But at least it seems like maybe there's some movement going forward in that vein of getting them to Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get to Tampa. We got the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Go ahead and say hello to the Shooter and Stache here.
How are we doing tonight?
What's up?
Doing well.
This is a guy right here who covers the Tampa Bay Lightning, covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really quick, Leo, I want to put you on hold here. If you want to call back in a couple minutes, we're going to play this video from Shooter and Stache, We the Thunder podcast. Of course, they do a podcast for the Tampa Bay Rays, so stand by, okay?
I'll hang on.
All right, stand by here. We'll put you guys both in the lobby. Once again, Shooter and Stache here live on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, and it's their Thanksgiving edition of their Shooter and Stache video. Enjoy here once again on NSPN and I Love St. Pete. Here we go.
Welcome to my humble abode as we celebrate another Champa Bay Thanksgiving.
Once my lease is up on my house, I'm gonna host a Split City Thanksgiving. I had a sign made to promote the idea.
Are you kidding me, guy? Number one bullshit right there. So why don't all the athletes come to this dinner?
The players can get quite wild. Remember those boat parades? We're going to keep some of them in the back room for now. Some are outside.
Why are my Rays players all outside? They can't eat inside?
Well, you'll have to win a championship or two for that to happen, Stu.
That's okay. We'll trade them soon anyway. Hey, Tom Brady, when you retire, do you want to pitch for the Rays? Add another first to your resume. You could be the first Split City champion.
No thanks, Stu. I already turned down baseball in Montreal once, and you see how that turned out. Plus, I like Tampa.
Baseball can't exist in Tampa Bay.
We don't have any problems selling out Emily.
Ray J's been rocking.
It's too hot here to even go to Bucks games. In fact, why don't I sell you the Trop's roof once we move out?
Sure, if it fits. How much?
Only $500 million. And the rights to Brady and Gronk.
And that makes bullshit number two. Hey, where's Bruce Arians? Is he circumventing Thanksgiving dinner?
No, he won't be in attendance. He told me to take full control while he sits back and relaxes. That's kind of how we do it. Yeah, it's true. Tom even decided the menu, decor, guest list. He even told me what to wear. Let's fucking go.
Another reason why moving the Rays to Tampa won't work. Bruce won't even drive across the bridge to come to dinner.
You know, Stu, I can pull some strings and find you a place near Water Street in Tampa for your stadium.
I would have to take out a loan to build a new stadium. Times are tough. I'm down to 4 homes. Sold all my boats. Can't get anyone to work for me. And Mets season tickets prices are up. Can you believe that? Unless you'd like to write me a check, Jeffrey.
Ho, 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 ho. That's number 3 bullshit. You're talking to the best guy in Tampa. No, in USA. No, in world. Well, maybe not Russia. I've seen enough of this guy. Patty Maroon, take this motherfucker out of here.
Hey, man, you need a new dude. How about some Letty dressing? That's a major penalty for owner misconduct.
I guess 3 bullshits and you're out of Tampa Bay.
All right, great stuff here. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You guys outdid yourself. I thought last year was great, and it was, but this year you really stuck it to Stu, if you will. I love it. I think it's funny.
Listen,
And-
as long as it gets people to kind of talk about this bullshit idea of splitting a team with a major league sports team in 2 cities, like we're really thinking about doing this. So we've actually, so that was actually pictures. The background was actually the Glazers' house that's for sale. I don't think it's Joel's house that's for sale, but it's one of the other Glazers. Last year, what we did was that's when Brady was staying at Jeter's house. So Brady hosted a bunch of Bucks players, a bunch of Lightning players at Jeter's house, and the place gets trashed. So go check out that one. The year before, Stu hosted, so it's a lot of the same. You know, it was when he first came out with this bad idea, and then the year before has got to be my favorite, because the year before, Jose Canseco shows up to Jameis Winston's house, gives the turkey HGH, and the turkey blows up and attacks downtown Tampa, only to be saved by Blake Snellzilla, no longer part of Tampa Bay sports, but Snellzilla lives on.
Yeah, he does. Not in Kevin Cash's heart, of course, with taking him out in that World Series Game 6. Just saying, guys, we can talk all night long. Let's make a segment of this on the sports web. You are always welcome here. I love and appreciate what you guys do here, not only for sports in general and hockey and baseball and football, but what you guys do for Tampa Bay sports. Love it. Once again, go ahead and promote what you do. We the Thunder and Shooter and Stache.
Yeah, just check out Shooter and Stache. Look it up. You're either going to find us or some weird porn. So both are going to be good.
Adventurous either way.
Join us on Tuesday nights, of course, after you're done with the sports web. Usually we're on a little bit later because we're going on after Lightning games. So it's usually around 10 o'clock. I can't give you a set time. If it's not, it's usually around 9 o'clock. If we don't have a game, we'll jump on here with a guest on Facebook, YouTube. But yeah, go check it out. You can find We the Thunder or search Shooter and Stache in all of your podcasts. The live shows where it's at, though. We do a lot of sharing. We bring people on. I share my screen. We do a lot of interactive stuff. So I always apologize to the people that just listen to the podcast afterwards, but people do. We encourage you to join us, take part of the show, and enjoy the wave that we're riding here with Tampa Bay sports.
Yeah, you gotta love it, Stache. Absolutely. So again, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, like Shooter said, I mean, the live show is where it's at. But if you're looking for something to do or listen to during work in the afternoons, we're pretty much always fresh. So especially on Tuesdays. So if you're looking for something on Wednesdays to get you caught up, what's happened last week of the Lightning and hockey, we kind of touch on the whole NHL anyways. Give us a listen there too, because we do. It is good enough for you to listen. You don't miss out too much if you're not watching.
All right, good stuff. Shooter and Stache, thanks a lot for joining me here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television on NSPN and I Love St. Pete. All right, guys?
All right,
Love you, man.
Peter.
Appreciate the love.
See ya.
All right, see ya. There you go. Good stuff there from those guys. Let's go ahead and get this guy on. Let's go ahead and get his intro on. Here we go. All right, Mr. Fox Sports Radio himself, the legend, former Coach Scouted Out media member of Night Sports Productions, Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And it has been a busy night. You had Dennis Phillips, Harry the Greek, Shooter and Stache, and now we got late night with Leo Haggerty. And we got to start off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But really quick, I know you covered the Tampa Bay Lightning. Are you surprised of how well they're playing without Kucherov, Point, and all these new guys on the roster? Welcome to the evolution.
You know what, Peter? It just proves two things. One, this team is deep.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talent. And again, you still got Stamkos. You still got Killorn, who's having a great season. But the bottom line is 88's going to be a net. And I asked Cooper this. I said, look, if he plays 60 games,
Mm-hmm.
50 of them, he's going to hold a team with 2 or less goals. How many of those are you going to win? He said, probably all of them. And again, look at last night. He stole the Boston game. Literally stole it. The Lightning had like 22 shots. And he stopped 37 of 39. And then last night, just keeps him in the game. And then they tie it with Corey Perry, and then boom, a lot in the last 30-some seconds. Bing. And they're on a roll now, Peter. They got 36 points. They're somewhere second, a point or two behind Florida. And the fact that they're playing so well on the road, and when they're not playing well, the goaltender's keeping them in the game.
Yeah, and I think, it's not only the kid line, but it's also the fine wine line, which is what the guys said. And you've got Corey Perry, who, look, 16 games, only 1 point, and now he's really pulled it up. You got Pat Maroon, who may score over 20 goals this year, which is amazing in itself. I mean, they're getting it done there. And then this kid line, and guys like Stamkos, to me, honestly, he looks like he's 100% healthy. Is that what you see?
Well, Peter, he's as close to that as possible. Yeah, he's pretty healthy. But when you say, are you surprised that they're doing this without Kucherov, without Point? I brought this to John Cooper's attention at the last home game.
Mm-hmm.
16 of your 18 players that you dressed that night had a point, at least 1 point in the last 3 games. How much balance can you get, Peter, when you've got 16 of 18 guys over a 3-game span getting at least 1 point? That's tremendous.
Yeah, it really is tremendous. And we're on with Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag here, live on the Sports Web on a Wednesday night. Been gone for a while, so I had to stack it up for you web heads out there. We'll take some calls here in a moment as we get Jason Rubin of KSP on talking about the enemy and the Buffalo Bills. Let's go back to this Tampa Bay Buccaneer win here, 30-17. Not much you really can not like about that victory. I mean, Tom Brady with the 1 interception before the half. I mean, what was your analysis on that call at that point? Throwing that interception, is that a defensive player making a good play, or is that a poor call like BA said in this presser this week?
No, Peter, it's a defensive player making a great play.
We saw that player, by the way, a couple years ago in the Outback Bowl. Remember that?
Uh-huh. Yep. And we're going to see some good ones too when Penn State takes on Arkansas. But, Peter, sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the other guy and say, hey, nice job.
Right.
And again, that was one of those things. Brady read it right. They let the rush come to him. And as he turned to throw, the guy stepped down hard and cut it outside and read the entire thing. And again, got to give the guy credit. Now, was it a dumb call? Yeah. Here's what they were thinking. Atlanta's getting the ball to start the second half. We got to try to get down, maybe get a field goal and go up. 13. Well, guess what? Now all of a sudden it's 2017. Atlanta's got the ball.
Sure.
But the defense stepped up, which was good, and they needed to.
They definitely needed to. And, for me, it's always been about getting healthy, right? I mean, not only do you miss Levante David for a little bit there, so your run defense kind of takes a dive, but you're still able to stop some running backs, but you're not as effective. But on that back end, when you don't have a Carlton Davis, when you don't have an SMB and a Jamel Dean all healthy at the same time, and now, Leo, you can see the difference and how important Davis is to that secondary, right?
Oh, absolutely. And again, you're afraid to see a stoppage of play and a white or a pewter or a red jersey on the ground, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a secondary guy.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. And Peter, interestingly enough, Coach Arians brought this out that they're going to start to put Richard Sherman at safety to try him a little bit there. They think they may be able to get him back this week, or if not next week. But again, the Achilles heel is right now is not the secondary. It's they're getting hurt and they're having to play hurt. That's Peter. I said this at the beginning of the year. The problem the Bucs are going to have is with the Week 9 bye, because they're going to have to play 9 straight just to get in to the playoffs. Guess who had their bye last week? Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. Now, with that being talked about, Richard Sherman playing at the safety situation, of course, you're being thin at safety with Jordan Whitehead, Mike Edwards out with suspension. Let's talk about that controversial subject. I don't stay away from that kind of stuff on the sports web. I've let my thoughts be known. I think the NFL dropped the ball. I was disappointed. Am I surprised that Brown is suspended? No, because he put a target on his back and the NFL went after him. Rodgers went about it in the sales way with it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And like Dennis Phillips said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. With all that, with this situation, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like the NFL should have suspended Antonio Brown for 3 games, even though the story comes out from Dan Graziano of ESPN that he could have already been vaccinated, even though he faked the vaccination card? To me, Rodgers is a lot worse because he wasn't vaccinated. He lied about it. He went to a Halloween party, and he also put media members at jeopardy. So why is Brown suspended for 3 games? Rodgers isn't. And do you feel like the NFL handled this situation correctly? And then, with that being said, there was a report from Pro Football Talk that actually said the Bucs could be considering letting Brown go. Do you see that happening?
Well, let's deal with the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, Brown should have been suspended for one reason and one reason only: a fake vaccination card.
Correct.
It's again, Aaron Rodgers never produced a fake vaccination card. So guess what? Now it's a Packer problem. It's not an Aaron Rodgers problem, because the Packers should have been monitoring this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to see a sizable fine down the road. And again, the Buccaneers may see the same thing, because supposedly that card was from Citrus County. That should have thrown up enough red flags that somebody said, oh, wait a second. We're right next door to where they're giving the shot. Why is he in Citrus County? What's going on here? And secondly, I don't think the Bucs are going to turn him loose, because again, unless Scotty Miller is 100% and can play right away, there aren't a whole lot of guys that can blow the top off the defense like Antonio Brown can. So yeah, I expect to see him still in the Buccaneers uniform after a 3-game suspension.
And I believe the same thing here. I think this is smoke. I do think BA is upset, but a lot of media members calling him out because he said last year, look, it only takes 1 strike and you're gone. But, everybody knows that Tom Brady was the one that kind of told the organization, look, this is my guy. This is who we need to get. And at the end of the day, you're exactly right. This offense is different without Brown. With that being said, you have a Chris Godwin. I mean, talk about this kid out of Penn State. He's not a diva. He goes about his business. 15 catches for 143 yards. Just amazing numbers, and just having a really good year here, right?
Peter, think about this. Both wide receivers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Evans at 99 yards, Brown, Godwin at 140 some,
Yeah.
and neither of them have a touchdown. Guess what? All of a sudden, 87 is running free.
Yep.
And that's where the ball's going. What amazed me, Peter, is not just that Godwin had 15 catches. They're running that Z screen like it's a trick play.
Right.
And I want to ask Coach Arians on Friday when I get in there. I said, this one I want to ask. I said, look, you're running that like it's a trick play, but two things have to happen. One, you got to have a guy who's willing to catch the ball, and he may get hit right away. And second, you got to have wide receivers that are willing and able to block. And that's something. They ran that, I think, 4 or 5 times against Atlanta for positive yards. It's just, it's crazy. And everybody, remember, Peter, we talked at the beginning of the year that the other publication did a expose on who's better, Godwin or Evans. I said, what a mistake that is.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to have, and both of these wide receivers in the history of Tampa Bay sports, but to me, they're getting to that point of where do you throw them in that same conversation as a Rice and a Taylor, or in their heyday, a Michael Irvin or an Alvin Harper? I mean, do you throw them in that? I mean, there's other wide receivers out there that are far better that I can't think of right now, but are you getting to that point where Evans looks like he's going to have another 1,000-yard receiving season, which has never been done in NFL history? I mean, and these guys just go about their business. You're not seeing him in a cop car. You're not seeing him doing this and doing that and on Twitter. They just go about it like professionals. Talk about those two, both.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Peter, it's a pleasure to watch them. You don't see them coming to the sideline and complaining about not getting the ball. They just go out. They know that number 12 is going to get the guy the ball who's open.
Yeah.
And that's the key. All I got to do is get open. And it's a whole lot different. Evans likes to run outside the numbers. Godwin likes to work inside the numbers. I mean, you've got a perfect combination. And then you've got Gronk and you got Cameron Brate. All he does is catch touchdowns, right?
Right.
And then you got O.J. Howard. And all of a sudden, Leonard Fournette is becoming a force out of that backfield
right
when it comes to being a receiver. And again, I really hope like the first pass Brady throws to him is at his knees. He's going to drop one. Let him drop that first one, and let's go from there.
Yeah.
But, Peter, think about this. The first drive, I've never seen this before. 13 plays, all passes. And it was like, okay, fine. That's like the Buffalo defense.
Yeah.
You're not going to see a guy throw 3 passes this week. He's going to throw 3 passes in the first 4 downs. So it's going to be a whole different animal for the Bills coming on. And I think Jason Rubin will expound on that fact.
Well, there's an SAT word right there. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I mean, you look at that Bills team, look, terrible weather conditions, but that defense has 8-9 men in the box, and still the Patriots run for over 200 yards. A little bit discouraging. And then on top of it, you feel like the Bucs and their offensive staff is looking at this and licking their chops. Do you feel like they're going to incorporate Fournette and Jones more into this offense on Sunday, or is it going to be always what it is, no risk it, no brisket, with Brady taking your chances and throwing the dump and throwing the short passes?
Tom Brady will come to the line of scrimmage. He will count guys in the box. 6 guys in the box, he runs. 7 guys in the box or more, he throws. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And again, Peter, I can't believe the disparaging, there's no SAT word.
Very nice.
Remarks about the Buffalo defense. When you hold a team to 14 points, you should win the football game. Bottom line, they hold them to 14.
Right.
The mistake they made was on the coaching situation. When New England went up 8-0 and Buffalo scored, someone on that staff should have told Sean, hey, look, we may want to go for 2 here because the weather's getting worse. It's 30-mile-an-hour winds. It's gusting up to 55. We're going to be chasing that point the rest of the night, which they were. they were always down 4 points away, and the field goal didn't matter. So yes, that was the mistake. They should have went for 2 right away, got it to 8-8, and then all of a sudden it's a horse race. But now it's 8-7, and then it goes to 11-7, and then it goes to 14-7. I can't believe how the Buffalo defense is just getting, crucified because, well, they got 200. Who cares?
Yeah.
Run the ball as much as you want. As long as you don't cross that goal line, I'm doing a good job. And that's what those guys were upset about in that press conference. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, we held them to 14 points. I don't care how much they were running the ball.
Well, you're exactly right, and we got that press conference here. So hold on, really quick. I want you to listen to this. This is 2 defensive players for the Buffalo Bills, and Poirier, I believe.
Poirier and Hyde.
Poirier and Hyde here live on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here you go.
Over 40 years since the team has won a game running a few times in a game, passing it a few times. Is that embarrassing? It's a question. I mean, the nation's going to be criticizing you, calling you soft. So I'm asking, because that's my job. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, we were 14 to 10. We made stops. We had to. They had one big run. I mean, they got good backs. They kept coming back to a couple runs. I mean, I don't know how you call it. That's funny. This goes back to respect. It's all about respect. I come here every single week and I answer your questions truthfully, honestly. I appreciate you guys. Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right, so he says don't do that. That would be Micah Hyde there. Does he have a point? I mean, was that unfair and we got Jason on hold, so Jason, stand by. We'll go out to you in a moment. Jason Rubin of KSP Night Sports Productions. Was that a fair question by the media member? And, after an emotional loss like that, you're a media member. You've been a media member for, over 40 years, I believe. Leo, are you really asking that question?
I'm not. It's irrelevant. It's almost stupid. The bottom line, and again, I'm going to go back to Herm Edwards. You play to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And how you win the game is you keep people out of the end zone. They allowed 1 touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and 2 field goals. 14 points. That will win you 90% of the NFL games. Bottom line. It was a question that was like, and again, I think I would ask the same, where are you going with this? What are you trying to find out? And that's, I kind of wasn't surprised that they walked off. Like, what are you doing? And I got a feeling one of the communications people for the Bills will come over to that reporter and say, what are you thinking? Not the time, not the place.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I agree, Leo. Good stuff. Go ahead. I'll go ahead and give you your go ahead and promote yourself here, my friend, on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, and then we're going to get out to Jason Rubin talking Buffalo Bills. Go for it.
Yeah, it's sportsmag.com. We do a lightning update every Monday. We do a Bucks update, recap every Sunday. And I'm going to put out a column tomorrow talking about how the College Football Playoff Committee needs to be disbanded. It obviously they can't get it right. They don't know what they're talking about. And it's time that we just, let's just figure this out ourselves.
Well, look, you were the one that told me it doesn't matter what Alabama and Georgia does. Alabama's getting in. And I was kind of surprised they beat Georgia with that defense. But now it certainly seems like it's going to set up with Alabama and Georgia. Although I kind of like Michigan. And I'm telling you right now, I feel like it's kind of destiny for them to win the national championship. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I haven't taken my meds today, but Jim Harbaugh's got something special there with that defense and Hutchinson rushing from the edge. I don't know. Maybe it's Michigan. What do you say? And then we'll go out to Jason.
Peter, I'll tell you what. Don't go to sleep on Cincinnati either.
Nope.
I think you're going to see 2 very good football games. And if the SEC decides that, okay, we're going to take this lightly, they're going to be watching next week, because that's those are two very good football teams showing up to play Georgia and Alabama.
All right, it's Mr. Fox Sports Radio himself. I'm never going to let him live that down. I heard him on the Dan Patrick Show. It's the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions at Sports Mag. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution, all right?
Have a great evening, my friend.
Appreciate you. There you go, Leo Haggerty. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get out to this guy right here. Let's go out to Mr. Jason Rubin of KSP Night Sports Productions, talking about the Buffalo Bills. Welcome to the Evolution. And I got to start with that game the other night. Bills lose 14-10. They have 8-9 men in the box, and they can't stop the run. What do you think this attitude of this Bills team right now is? Welcome.
Hey, good to be here. It's one of those things. They would stop them, negative play. Next thing you know, 25-yard gain. I think they had a decent game plan going in, but it just comes down to what a lot of coaches and a lot of teams deal with over the past 20-plus years in the NFL. Bill Belichick had a little bit of a better game plan, and in the end, they came out with the victory. I can tell you this Sunday when Buffalo comes to Tampa, and I've talked to a lot of people on the team, they're looking forward to the weather this Sunday as opposed to last Sunday.
Well, I mean, last Monday night, who wants to play football on that? Would you say that the Bills, with you watching them and covering them, are they a physical team? Do they need to work on that? Are they more finesse, Josh Allen to the left, Josh Allen to the right, Josh Allen passing? Is that what type of team they are, in your opinion?
In my opinion, they are a very physical team. And it started a few years ago when they really, really, and they say the coach kind of dictates the mood, the room, the tempo, and a team can kind of take, Sean McDermott really preaches physicality, and they really are a physical team. And they showed that last year. This year, and especially right now, they started off great. Now they're kind of 1 week on, 1 week off. They look good 1 week. The next week they look bad. So, they're coming off a losing week on Monday night. We all know that. Everyone watched the game. It was one of the highest rated games in a while.
Sure.
And I just think that this is going to be their good week, coming out of those conditions. And Josh Allen, you saw the New England Patriots, Mac Jones attempted 3 passes.
3 passes the whole game. I'm amazed by that.
I answered. He completed one of them. And they won. But having said that, you watched the game. Josh Allen, despite the conditions, despite the field position, he was slinging it. And Bill Belichick, after the game, said so. He said, hey, he was out there slinging it. And if a couple passes were, and we saw this, a couple passes were a yard this way, a foot this way, a couple drops, they win that football game. So I think in these conditions with they know what they have. They just gave him a ton of a Brinks truck full of money. They know what they have. They know what his talent is. And I just feel like this is going to be their week where they're really going to show out and score a lot of points. I'm not saying they're going to win because Tampa Bay is so talented, and you don't make a lot of money betting against Tom Brady.
Right.
But I think they're going to look pretty good this week, a lot different than Monday night.
Talk about how good Allen is. 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. A couple years ago when he was drafted, and everybody was talking about Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, and I was saying Josh Allen is going to be the best quarterback out of that draft. And sure enough, and you have to you take your hat off to Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, and his development of an Allen. Talk about Allen a little bit and talk about this offensive coordinator coming to Tampa on Sunday.
And you're right. He was from Wyoming. Who watches Wyoming games? Maybe you see 1-2 games of Wyoming every 4 or 5 years because there's a Josh Allen involved.
Or if you're up at 1 o'clock in the morning on ESPN. That's the thing. If you're just up.
And now that gambling's legal, if you're down a lot and you're chasing that late game, like, hey, I'm gonna go with Wyoming. But yeah, he's and the thing that I love is nowadays, especially we see it in college, we see it in the NFL, they get rid of players so early. They said, let's stick with this guy because he has some things like we talk about, in the NBA, they say you can't coach size. You can't coach 7 feet. you can't coach some of the talent that he brings. I mean, he's 6'5", he's mobile, he's fast. His arm strength is probably best in the league. I mean, at least him, Mahomes. I mean, Brady's very underrated, but there's some. And when you watch that New England game on Monday night, there's some things that he does that other people in the league can't do.
Yeah,
and he really, the way Brian Dable worked with him and got them. I mean, you saw what happened last year, and that's why they gave him, I don't know, $200 million, whatever it was, because they said he's got not only the talent and the ability, but he can put it all together. And we feel like we can win a Super Bowl with this guy.
Do you feel like talking to those players, they still feel that way, that they can, come out of this? I mean, they lost to the Colts. Okay.
No question. And you got to give a lot of credit to Sean McDermott.
Okay.
And everyone in the locker room buying in. They look at, okay, it's New England. Everybody loses to New England for a long time now.
Sure.
And the conditions. And the thing is, they can't really put that loss on Josh Allen. There was a lot of drops. There was a lot of things that happened in that game that could have went the other way. And they believe in him. And that's why they had the success last year. And they're still a winning football team. And Tampa Bay better be ready, because coming off what they just came off of, like with the wind and everything else, they're coming into the high is 81 degrees on Sunday. Josh Allen may throw for 700 yards.
Well, I tell you right now, we have one of our guys on who's a meteorologist, but is a sports broadcaster on this show by the name of Denis Phillips, and he swears by him. He's going to be the #1 quarterback in fantasy. And look, I understand that, because this defense of the Bucs, they've had their fair share of injuries, but they're getting healthy at the right time. With that being said, how come the Bills don't run the ball more? How come they don't take the pressure off of an Allen, Devin Singletary, a Zach Moss coming out of Utah? So many high expectations. How come these players aren't using this offense more?
You're right. And a lot of people are saying that. It's just they've had injuries at tailback. Singletary isn't what he was. He had a run on Monday night, and it was a very good run. And literally, it was the announcers were like, it was Brian Greasy and Riddick. They were like, and nice run there by, Devin Singletary. It was like, whoa, remember him?
Right.
And it was like, he's not what he was. And that happens in this league with injuries and whatnot. Moss looked great. I mean, but again, it's tough to game plan and run the ball against a Patriots defense, especially a Bill Belichick defense.
Sure.
I mean, it's almost like they're a running back away at this point. Mm-hmm. And plus, Josh Allen is so gifted and so talented. I mean, some of his runs, some of his scrambles that go for over 10 yards, it's like, why don't you do that every play? That doesn't work in the NFL. But
no, it's not Madden. You can't do that. I mean, ask Patrick Mahomes this year if he could do the same things. I mean, he's trying to throw across his body, and guess what? Defensive coordinators here, Jason, pick up on it. They pick up on those tendencies, and that's why it's called the NFL, which means not for long, because once those defensive coordinators pick up on those tendencies, they share those with the players, and they pick up on it. That's why you watch film during the week.
Absolutely. And like you said, Mahomes is having definitely a down year compared to what he's used to. But some of these runs Josh Allen makes, and especially on Monday night, like a 12-yard gain, he makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
Because he's so big and so physical that it's like, why don't you do that more? It's like, well, you can't do that more. Otherwise they'd run it, but and that's the way it is with them. They want to commit to the running game. They just kind of feel like they can't. And he's so super talented. They want to leave the ball in his hands the majority of the time, because when you play the odds, the majority of the time you leave the ball in Josh Allen's hands, you're going to be successful. That wasn't the case Monday night, but moving forward and last year, that's kind of what they're looking into.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, you got to worry about him. The chemistry with Allen last year definitely worked. It's working somewhat this year, if you will. But, who else did the Buccaneer defense have to worry about on this team besides the Diggs?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because when we were doing our notes for Monday night, we were like, who else do they have to worry about? We had to kind of like look. They have a good tight end,
right?
But the thing is, they're so decimated with injuries on offense,
right?
And defense too. They lost Tre'Davious White. I mean, so this is a team dealing with injuries, and going into that Monday night game, they were definitely shorthanded. But other than Stephon Diggs, and you got to remember last year, like you said, Josh Allen had, however many completions. Stephon Diggs was 115 of them.
Yeah.
So they're not, when it comes to the depth chart, they're not, like other teams. Like, they had Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley coming out of the slot. I don't think we even called his name on Monday night.
Yeah.
So really that's it. I mean, you have Cole Beasley, you have Emmanuel Sanders, Dawson Knox. I mean, it's not a lot to work with there other than Diggs.
You watch Tom Brady this year, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. In your opinion, not only has he been named the Sports Illustrated 2021 Sports Person of the Year, but is he in the clubhouse at this point? Is he your favorite to win the MVP? And you've talked to the Bills players this week. The second question, do you feel like they're in awe, or do you think they're ready for Brady and his 32-3 record versus the Bills in his lifetime?
Great question. They are hungry.
Okay.
Any other team you talk to, they say, "Oh, he's the best. He's the best. We're gonna try." They want him. They really want him, and that's a credit to Sean McDermott. They really want to get after him. They know that if any quarterback, and the Bucs actually showed this in the Super Bowl versus Patrick Mahomes, any quarterback you put pressure on, it doesn't make it easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not. Everyone's in awe of Tom Brady.
It seems like it. And I mean,
yeah,
he really is a marvel, Jason. I mean, 44 years old, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, throwing some interceptions lately. I think 5 straight games with the Bucs, but you really don't worry about that because he throws 4 touchdowns and he averages about, 2 to 3 touchdowns a game in this offense. And this is an offense that has been without a Rob Gronkowski, has been without an Antonio Brown. Just imagine getting those guys back.
Yeah, I can't remember a team being this loaded and this successful. There's been, years ago there was the Eagles had Vince Young and they had a lot of names.
Right.
But they have the names and they back it up. I mean, Antonio Brown hasn't played in a while. Gronk, I mean, you saw it was his second game back. The first game back, he only played like 1.5 quarters, I want to say.
Sure.
And he had 2 touchdowns last week. But this Bills team is going to be ready. I mean, you talk about Ed Oliver and players like that. Like,
Monster.
Yeah,
I loved
absolutely.
Oliver coming out of Houston. In fact,
out of Houston.
I mean, if it's not Devin White there for me, it's Oliver or it's Quinnen. I'm trying to think of the kid from the Jets. That's what I wanted the Bucs to go for. Quinnen Williams, yeah, out of Alabama. But Oliver coming out of Houston. So many. So much flexibility with this kid. Talk about him and his game. He can play defensive tackle, outside, maybe stand up a little bit. Talk about how great he is for this defense of the Buffalo Bills.
So it's funny you say that because he's one of those players that it's once every maybe 10 years.
Right.
It doesn't matter the weather. It doesn't matter the conditions. It doesn't matter who's trying to block him.
Mm-hmm.
He will figure out a way to make plays. And he did it in Houston. And the thing is, Houston isn't some like college powerhouse. You're used to like a lot. And he was, I think he was a sophomore and people were already talking about him. Like, when's he going to get drafted and this and that. And he's not, the thing is he's under 300 pounds at playing defensive tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going about 280, 290, something like that. And it's just, his ability is just off the ball is just crazy. And he's had a little bit of injuries and whatnot, but he's definitely on the defensive line. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. There will be a moment in the first, especially playing in Tampa, the first quarter, there's going to be, a lot of rah-rah, a lot of this, a lot of that. The first few minutes, they may be staring at Tom Brady a little bit, like, oh, wow, let me take a picture of him. But once they settle in, especially Ed Oliver, because he's such a young guy, they're going to really get after him. The coach, Sean McDermott, really preaches that. I think they're really going to get really physical, and they're going to really get after him. And it's not going to be an easy day in Tampa. I mean, this is the Bills' week 2. They're on again, off again. This is their on week. So,
yeah,
Tom Brady will be ready, and
I think the Bills will be ready. They'll want to get that bad taste out of their mouth, and of course, the Bucs play better at home than they play on the road, coming off of a road victory. Somebody had to ask, could this be a Super Bowl preview? I'll tell you right now, Jason, I really thought at the beginning of the season that it could be the Buffalo Bills versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You talk to the players on a daily basis. Do you still feel like they have that mindset where they can be the best team in the AFC, Or is it we got to get over that hump and it's the New England Patriots? Unless we do that, we're not talking about Super Bowl or playoffs for that matter.
Okay, you're right. They didn't talk about Super Bowl. They didn't talk about playoffs. But one of the players said to me, we are not afraid of anybody.
Okay.
We feel like we can beat anybody on our given day. And they really do believe that. I think they're going to chalk up Monday night to the weather and to just kind of a fluke thing. I mean, Mac Jones completed one pass.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that's never happened before.
I've never seen that. And look, I was high on Jones when he was coming out of Alabama, over 70% completion percentage. I felt like the 49ers made a mistake here, Jason. They should have drafted him over a Trey Lance. I get it. Everybody's in love with the athleticism and the mobility, but at the end of the day, you could still win with a drop back passing quarterback. Oh, by the way, Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year. Why is everybody so down on a Mac Jones? I mean, what he's done for the Patriots, you watch this team. I mean, do you think they're the real deal? Can they go to the Super Bowl? Because right now, Vegas has the Patriots and the Bucs meeting in Super Bowl 56. Is that where you see the Patriots, or do you think they're going to come back down to earth eventually?
I'm with you. It's funny. No one really talked about that. And I don't know if did you hear anybody talk about Patriots Bucs?
And not at the beginning of the year. I mean,
yeah, I heard nothing.
Nothing.
Till as soon as the clock hit 000s on Monday night against the Bills, it was like Patriots Bucs, Patriots Bucs.
Right.
I was like, oh wow, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Because no one did. Now they're on this winning streak and this tear, and everyone's like, oh, it reminds us of 2001. It reminds us of the 01 Patriots.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they spent so much money in free agency, kind of under the radar,
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't get a flashy name. But Bill Belichick and they spent a lot of money in free agency, all on defense,
Mm-hmm.
and they look great. The winning streak looks great. I mean, when you attempt one pass, and it's hard not to compare because Tom Brady's first game ever, his first start ever was against, people don't remember this, in 2001, was against Peyton Manning. And they won the Patriots won, I want to say it was 48-13.
Mm.
And Brady probably threw for 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you an idea of that's what that team was about. It was special teams, a lot of defense, and Brady not making mistakes. Here we are now 20 plus years later. You have Mac Jones completing one pass.
Right.
Defense.
You can still win like that, Jason. I mean, you can win with the DLG
definitely
quarterback.
can.
I mean, if you don't turn over the ball, if you run the ball for over 200 yards and you play great defense and create some turnovers or some explosive plays, you can win like that in the NFL. And it's eerily similar to 2001. It's almost scary at that point. I feel like Buffalo or Kansas City is going to step up and beat the Patriots, but why rule out the Patriots at this point when you still have Belichick and you still have a team that is constructed in that Belichick image where, look, we're going to do whatever it takes. I'm still going to shut down your biggest weapon. I'm not going to turn over the ball. And then on top of it, I'm going to kick your brains in with my running game. It's scary.
It is scary. And when you talk about 2001, 2003, 2004, the biggest thing they had going for them, especially when you talk about the Tuck Rule game, was they had home field.
Mm-hmm.
So Belichick knows if we get home field against Buffalo, against Kansas City, we have the advantage. We're not afraid.
Yep. You're exactly right. They're they're unbeatable at Foxborough, and especially with the winter conditions. We just saw Buffalo. I mean, can you imagine in just a month or two how much colder it's going to be? I mean, I've never really been up north during that time, and there's probably a reason why, because I probably wouldn't survive. I'm a Floridian. I've been here all my life. I couldn't imagine, and I can't imagine a team like a Kansas City who, to me, has no physicality, although their defense has been playing better. Let's kind of shift gears and talk about the Chiefs. Are you believing in this Chiefs team with their defense and how well they played? It looks like, Patrick Mahomes and this offense is stifled right now, but Chris Jones, Frank Clark really showing up for them, right?
They have lately, and I'm not buying in long-term as far as playoffs and Super Bowl.
Right.
I just think they've stepped up because they kind of have to. The Chiefs' time of possession has been way down, so the defense is on the field. They've had no choice but to make plays to keep these games close. Like you said, not for long. NFL, they've figured out Mahomes and his defense. I can tell you this: if it comes down to Buffalo playing Kansas City, I'll take Buffalo every day of the week. especially if they have home field, which I think they will.
Sure.
I'm not betting against anyone in Foxborough because you don't get rich doing that.
Right.
You go broke doing that. But if it is Patriots Bucks, I mean, the ratings are going to be better than the final episode of MASH. They're going to the OJ Bronco chase. I mean, literally, TVs might explode.
I really would. It would, because the storyline for the 2 weeks would be Belichick versus Brady. Now, my thing is, the first matchup wasn't very entertaining. Do you think the second matchup, if it does happen in the Super Bowl, would be more entertaining, or would it be more tight-lipped, tight-vested at that point because of Belichick and his ways of trying? And for me, I think it's tough for the Patriots because, look, you got to either shut down Mike Evans, which you could do that, but you got to deal with Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, you have weapons upon weapons with this Bucs team.
Scotty Miller. Yeah. I mean, the list goes on.
Right.
They're
And then that defense versus a Mac Jones, which, look, they didn't perform well, but it kind of takes me back to last year. That defense didn't perform versus a Patrick Mahomes. And then they made him, run for his life for 497 worth behind the line of scrimmage. So what does that really mean? We're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's something interesting to think about. Good stuff, Jason. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Hey, Jason Rubin, it's Sports Mag. We appreciate you having me on. Anytime you want to have me on, I'm definitely down for that. I love to talk Bills. I love to talk Bucks as well. I did grow up in Tampa as well.
Okay.
Funny, I actually lived in Buffalo and New England, so I kind of know all regions. And you're right. You never, ever, ever want to go up in that cold.
Exactly. Because like I said, and not to offend anybody, but if you're from Florida, you're like a Chihuahua, right? You don't have the fur to deal with that coldness up there. Good stuff, Jason. Appreciate the time here on NSPN.
I'll say one more thing.
Yes.
It looks fun on TV, but it's not.
Well,
but it's not.
Look, I've never seen snow before. I can deal with the snow, but that snow is not 40 degrees. That snow is like 20 below up there in those winter months. So I'll go ahead and pass. I'll keep my Florida weather. Good stuff, Jason. Always welcome here on the Evolution. All right.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Appreciate you, buddy. There you go. Jason Rubin, It's Sports Mag. Good stuff there from him, wrapping it up because we didn't get a chance to really take phone calls tonight, but I'm pumped up. Are you pumped up? Are you pumped up about this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team? Because I'm definitely pumped up about it. And going into this matchup. And I get it, it's the Buffalo Bills, and that's one of the things. Look, you circled that game when the schedule came out, and you were like, uh-oh. This could be a Super Bowl preview. And make no mistake about it, Buffalo's going to have something to prove. Both of those defensive players pretty pissed off, wouldn't you say? And you basically get your face mashed in by the New England Patriots. So don't think that Buffalo is going to play like that. And, of course, you have to defend a Josh Allen. 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, highly athletic, can do everything, can throw the ball anywhere he wants to, can run. So this Bucs defense, once again, has to come out and have the effort like they had last Sunday versus the Falcons. 5 sacks. Sue, the ageless wonder, 2 sacks. Vita Vea getting in on the action. Cam Gill. Devin White nearly had a sack. You're concerned because he didn't have Shaq Barrett and he didn't have JPP. And like I said, I don't think JPP is 100%. He's not. But this defense still getting it done. And then helped by the fact of getting back a Carlton Davis and the SMB and a Jamel Dean. And you're a little bit low at safety. And you have Richard Sherman playing safety, learning the safety position. Which has happened before in the history of the National Football League. With Rod Woodson and Charles Woodson. Not related, but they played like it, did they not? I mean, when they went from corner to safety, they got a new level. That's why those guys are Hall of Famers. Let's go out to the comments here and we'll wrap it up for the night. Love you guys. Love being back tonight. I wanted this show to be special. We crammed it in. I wanted to take as many phone calls as possible. But you know what? There's some nights we don't do that. And that's okay. You guys get to sit back and listen to guys like Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, which you can better believe more than likely we'll be going live there on Saturday, somehow, some way. because I love charity and I love hot cocoa, and that guy has the right idea. All right, let's go out to our quick phone call here. Before we go, let's go out to Mr. Curtis from Newport Richie. Let's get his walk-up music on. Here we go.
Tampa makes up.
All right, Curtis, it's been a long time. Welcome to the Evolution on Sports Talk Television on NSPN, and I love St. Pete. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm chilling like a villain. Just got off work.
All right, good stuff, my friend. So what do you think about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I missed you last Sunday as I was explaining to everybody coming into this show. Had some lung problems, had to go to the hospital, had to once again. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited. You know, I'm glad to be back. It's nice to do this show, and it's good to talk to you, my friend. So what do you have to say?
Well, first of all, I was listening to you and Fat Mike and Harry and all y'all while I was at work. I was mopping the floor and I had my phone in my pocket and I was listening to you guys the whole time. And my boss was like, "What the hell are you doing over?"
We apologize to your boss. Hopefully it didn't cost you your job. But
No.
sometimes he was laughing.
Listen, he's good. He's a huge Bears fan. He's been a Bears fan since like the 70s.
Okay.
But no, I was listening to what you were saying earlier about Mike Evans. Listen, do you think that Mike Evans, let's say he gets 1,000 yards. Let's go on and say hypothetical. Well, forget it.
What is he? 206 yards away from getting 1,000. So I think he's pretty much, knock on wood. I think he's got that. Don't you?
Absolutely. Now here's the question.
Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes, by far. He's a Hall of Famer. And look, everybody's going to say, well, he's not flashy. He ain't like Randy Moss with the speed. The guy gets it done.
Listen.
Game in and game out.
Listen. Calvin Johnson's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And Mike Evans has done something even Calvin Johnson himself has.
Win a Super Bowl.
And he's the only player in NFL history that's going to have 8
consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Amazing.
To start his career.
Amazing. And the guy's not a diva. He's not an Odell Beckham who's getting injured every year. He's not on Instagram with an Instagram model. He's not caught with something on a bed. He's not coming out of a cop car.
Here's another question for you.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns does he have career right now?
I have to look that up, man. You're testing me tonight. I mean, let me see here. Let me see really quick. Let me go to Google. Google is your friend. Lifetime touchdowns right now. He has, well, of course, he has 71 touchdowns. He surpassed Mike Evans. I mean, not Mike Evans, Mike Allstott for all time. Yeah.
So he's got 71, 72 right now?
Sure. Yeah.
We have, 6 games left?
Yeah.
So let's say he gets 8 touchdowns this season.
Yep.
Let's say he finished the season and he's got 10 or 12 right now?
Sure.
So let's say he gets 8 more and he finishes the season, his 8th season, with over 8,000 yards and 80 touchdowns.
80 touchdowns, and nobody will talk about them. They'll be talking about, oh my God, DeAndre Hopkins is great, and Hopkins is great.
Now, what makes listen, I love Hopkins.
Sure.
Okay. What you love about Hopkins is he was doing this with Ryan Mallett.
Correct.
TJ Yates.
Yes.
And stuff like that.
The greatness of, yes. Or not greatness.
Well, what do we have? Mike Glennon. What do we have? Mike Glennon. Josh
McCown.
Mike Evans first year. Oh my God.
You love Josh McCown, don't you? You love it.
No, I just love his hair bounces in the wind like John Gruden.
I remember the press conference. The poor guy was crying. He wanted it so bad, and you got to appreciate that. But yeah, it was tough watching those teams. And even when Evans was drafted, I was not believe it or not, I was not a fan because I wasn't sure if his attitude was going to work. I wasn't sure if he had the separation. And now I feel like a complete idiot. And my friend always tells me, and I had a source a long time ago, God rest his soul, tell me that the Bucs were interested in drafting Johnny Manziel, that was going to be a certainty. And my friend said, look, they're not drafting Manziel. They're drafting Mike Evans. There's no way you can defend that size at 6'5", 6'6". It's ridiculous.
If we go back and look at that draft.
Yeah.
you had Sammy Watkins.
Yep.
He went 4th.
To Buffalo.
Evans went 7th.
Yep.
Odell went to the Giants.
Correct.
Cooks went to the Saints.
Yes, he went to the Saints. You're right. You got Aaron Donald in that draft too.
Kelvin Benjamin went to Carolina.
The formerly artist Calvin Benjamin, the wide receiver who turned into a fat tight end, that would be it. Yes, the national championship one.
And I'm pretty sure OBJ used to get all the hype from that draft class.
He got the hype. You know why he got the hype? Because of the one-handed catch. He's still living off of that.
The one-handed catch on Sunday Night Football,
right,
against Dallas, in a game that they lost.
Right. I mean, and that tells you everything you need to know about Odell Beckham, right? Highly talented, can't stay healthy, living off his past. What has he done the last couple years? Absolutely nothing. I mean, honestly, and the hype is just overkill at this point. Get tired of it. He's highly talented, can't stay healthy, and living off that play. Go ahead.
Now, I want to talk about Buffalo.
Sure. Okay? Talk about him.
Buffalo is a good team. My cousin is a Buffalo fan.
Okay.
We had a bet going on that if Buffalo won, I was gonna have to wear a Buffalo Bills hat for a week.
Love those bets.
He was gonna have to wear a Bucks hat at work and for a week. And he canceled the bet because Tre'Davious White got hurt.
Well, I mean, that's a big loss for the Bills, right?
He's like, how the hell am I supposed to defend all those receivers?
I mean, and that's what every defense runs into every week, and it's why it's amazing what the Saints could do and what the Rams did to a certain degree. But, getting back in Antonio Brown in a couple weeks. And by the way, I just want to say this. Thank you very much to the NFL for giving the Bucs the Super Bowl trophy. And I'll tell you why. Because Antonio Brown gets an opportunity to rest that injury, which he wasn't going to play in the first place. Edwards gets to rest that injury. And then on top of it, you ignite that locker room. You give them purpose. It's Antonio Brown did the fake vaccination card. We got to step up. And guess what? We may have to face Aaron Rodgers, who's also unvaccinated, but had no penalty. Thank you.
And listen, you know what? All I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to the playoffs. But I need this game Sunday, and I need this game against New Orleans next week. Because listen, as a Bucs fan, I can't even tell you the last time we had a 4-game lead in the division.
I can't either. I think the last time they had some type of lead like this was 2007. Yep. So,
but I actually, if don't crucify me, Bucs fans. Don't just hear me out before I say this. I'm actually hoping that we lose to the Saints.
Why?
Because every time we get swept by the Saints, we win the Super Bowl.
It's a
2002 and last year.
Yep. It's a very good point. You're exactly right. Good stuff, Curtis. I got to run. Appreciate the time, my friend. We'll definitely talk to you on Sunday live at Ducky's. All right, my friend?
All right, brother.
All right. Good stuff by Curtis right there. Love it. Let me read these comments. I'm going to get the hell out of here because I got to do a podcast. And I know that's Jason Powers right now texting me, no quarter given podcast. If you want to know the history of the opponent, Paul Stewart does a phenomenal job with buckpower.com. We'll be doing that podcast as we speak after this show, and you'll be able to get it at all the major podcast forums. Let's go out to Fat Mike. Didn't get a chance to read these comments. I liked you all the way until you reminded me of that. He's talking about Denis. Thanks, Bub. I hate him. Fat Mike, you're on mute. Harry Berg, he was. Sandra Nagel, Michigan all the way this year. I will fire the actually, I'll give her. They can do it. I'll give her the cannon for that. And I'll also give her the woo. Woo! Because I agree. And I'm not just saying that because of my family. There's something special about the Michigan Wolverines this year. And you can't put your finger on it, but it's there. Seriously. All right, go Bills, says Ryan Arnold. We'll see on Sunday. Definitely come out to Ducky's Sports Lounge, 1719 West Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa with your pre-half and post-game editions. I missed you. I missed the wings, and I missed the people out there. Tyra, you Atlanta Falcon fan, I will see you there on Sunday morning. Check out We the Thunder, absolutely. Kevin with the mic, like it. Scory, Perry, love him. Kevin says she definitely said Stache was the best, if I recall. Good stuff there. Rob again promoting once again. We the Thunder, Shooter and Stache. Go and cop it right there. Thank you, Peter. Absolutely. Donnie Pepin, I don't know what that is, but okay. The O-line is the real story. Absolutely, the O-line has been the real story. 15 sacks given up this year by this team. Completely amazing, and it's always one of those points that we go with. Look, if they can keep Brady clear of all pressure and he's able to go through his progressions, that's the reason why you got 34 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Not just the players on the outside, but the line in general. A Donovan Smith, and Ali Marpeta, Ryan Jensen, and Alex Kappa, and of course, a Tristan Wirfs. Amazing. 15 sacks for the year. That's the reason why you're winning. And it all starts with the offensive line and defensive line. I don't care what anybody says. Football has not changed. It has not. Great show, Pete. Thank you very much. Rosanna Butler, Vartech. I don't know what that means, but okay. Could this game be a Super Bowl preview? Absolutely. And Christopher Cole Evans, one-handed catch was better than OBJ versus the Atlanta Falcons in 2016 on Thursday Night Football. Of course, the Bucs went on to lose, but that was an amazing catch, kids. Go and check it out. Thanks to all the great guests tonight. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, Harry the Greek of 1252 Sports, Fat Mike of 1252 Sports, of course, Shooter and Stache of We the Thunder podcast, and Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, and Jason Rubin of It's Sports Mag. We'll be back on Sunday afternoon, another prime time. Well, we'll start about 2:30 here live on NSPN. I love St. Pete. Do three things for me. We'll be live at Ducky Sports Lounge, 1719 West Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.